to teach you how to divide decimals, but don't worry, it's not hard. And we're only going to divide decimals by whole numbers right now. So that's easy. Once I show you, you'll realize how easy it is. So let's write here, by whole numbers. We're not going to do decimals by decimals yet. That'll come later. Right now we're just going to do decimals by whole numbers, which is super easy. Now you're probably wondering what this weird picture has anything to do with decimal division. Like, what is going on here? Well, let me explain it to you. Okay, what you got going on here is you got this little dog. Okay, the little poodle is so cute. He is eyeing that big, huge, juicy piece of steak inside the house. He wants to get that big time, and because he's starving. But the girl on top of the house is saying, la la la, I don't hear you, you know. And she's got a lot to say about the dog getting the meat. And she's the one who's going to let him in. But he has to hear her say, come on in. So put all that in your mind and let's think about that. So how does that relate to division, you ask? Let me tell you. Okay, there's 3 parts to a division problem. First of all, let me turn my phone off because you keep hearing my texting go off, and that's probably really annoying. Okay, so inside the house, you have the steak. That's what the dog wants. He has his eye on that, okay? I'm going to call the dog the divisor. And the reason I'm calling him the divisor is because he has his eye. Think of eye as in his eye on. I'm going to show you. I'm going to point to his eye. His eye is on the steak. So that's why he's the divisor. Okay, now, what is the piece of meat, you ask? That is the dividend, because the meat is the end result, okay? I'm going to put a little arrow here and say the end result. That's what he wants. Okay, what is the girl? The girl represents, if you think about her little quote box, that is the things that she's saying to the dog. So she is the quotient, okay, the answer to the division problem. That's how we can remember each piece, okay? The dividend always goes inside the house, all right? The dividend is always the first number in a division problem. All right, let's go to the next page, and we'll do a couple problems. Okay, so top 2 things to remember when dividing decimals. Well, actually, there's really 3 things, so I'm going to put a little star here, and we're going to add one thing, because I should have had it first. The very first thing that you're going to remember, I guess we'll call it the star thing, is that the first number goes in the house. Goes in the house. That's important to know. Okay. Now, the real first important thing is, once we do our division problem, the first thing that we do is raise the decimal to the roof. Raise the decimal to the roof. Very important step, and I'll show you in just a minute. And then the second step is super easy. Divide normally, which we've already done long division, so we know how to do that. We're really good at it, remember? Does McDonald's serve cheeseburgers raw? Let's put those steps down so we don't forget. Does McDonald's serve cheeseburgers raw? No, they don't. All right, let's do a couple problems. Okay, the first problem I'm going to do is, let's say I have $6.85, and I want to divide it by 5 people. Okay, and if I didn't have a calculator and I didn't use my calculator, or for these problems I will not be letting you use a calculator. I have to show your work. Okay, the first step is to raise the decimal to the roof. Put it right there. Okay, put a little arrow to show your decimal. That will make sure that your answer's got the decimal in the right place. And then we're going to look over and we're going to say, let's put our steps over here. Does McDonald's serve cheeseburgers raw? First thing I do is divide. 5 goes into 6 one time. Then we multiply. 1 times 5 is 5. We subtract. 6 minus 5 is 1. We check. 1 is less than 5, so that means we're good. We bring down the 8. 5 goes into, and then our R is remainder or repeat. We have to repeat here because we still have another number, the 5. We haven't finished. So we have to repeat. How many times does 5 go into 18? 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15. Subtract. We get 3. Bring down, because our check step says it's okay. 3 is less than that divisor, so it's all right to move on. Bring down the last 5. 5 goes into 35 7 times. 7 times 5 is 35. We subtract. We have 0 left over, so our answer is $1.37, which sounds like it makes sense. If we had $6.85 and we divided it by 5 people, $1.37 would be correct. Now, you should know that if I wanted to check that answer to make sure it's right, we could multiply 137 times 5 and we would get $6.85. Okay, let's do another example. How about $3.24 now divided by 5 people? Raise the decimal to the roof. Okay, put the decimal on the roof. 5 cannot go into 3. Okay, so we cannot go into 3, so we have to divide into the 32. 5 goes into 32 6 times. Notice that it's after the decimal point because the decimal point stays in the same place. We have to line things up very neatly. 6 times 5 is 30. Subtract, we get 2. That's less than 5. The check step says it's okay. We bring down the 4. We repeat the whole thing again. 5 goes into 24 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. We have a remainder of 4. Now remember, we do not use remainders anymore. And I'm not going to put a mixed number up here because I have a fraction. So what do? If you have a remainder and you need to keep dividing, you can make your house a little bit bigger, add a 0 at the end, and bring it down. 5 goes into 40 now, 8 times. 8 times 5 is 40. 40 minus 40 is 0. Our final answer is 0.648, which if you rounded that, that would be about 65 cents, and 65 cents times 5 people would be about $3.24. So that's really good. Now I want to show one other example because this comes up and this is hard sometimes for people. So add another page, please. Okay, try one more. Okay, and let's do, let's see, we'll go 0.0035 divided by 7. Okay, first of all, the first number goes in the house. We already said that. The dividend is 0.0035. The divisor is 7. And the very first step, we already said before, is to raise the decimal to the roof. So I'm going to use a different color here. I'm going to raise the decimal to the roof, put it right there. Okay, but now look what happens. Okay, 7 cannot go into 0. It cannot go into 2 zeros. It cannot even go into 003. It cannot go into anything until we get all the way down here to 35. And 7 goes into 35 5 times. 5 times 7 is 35. Always line up your numbers right underneath the ones that you divided and subtract. 35 minus 35 is 0. Okay, there's nothing left to bring down, so our answer is done. But look at our roof. We have a bunch of holes on the roof, and that is not okay. What do you think we should do with those? Well, obviously, hopefully you are saying you cannot have holes on your roof. You got to fill those in with zeros. So we look at our roof and we fill them in with zeros. And that would be our final answer. Okay, excellent job. Okay, I think you guys are ready to do some practice. Okay, let's go ahead and add one more page. There's just one more kind of example that I want to give you. This is really going to apply when you are doing like your show-off steps and you try to write your own problem. Sometimes we see students have trouble with this. So add another page. Okay, let's do one more example. This is a problem that sometimes occurs when we try to write our own problems and we get a weird answer and we're not sure what to do. So let's do 24.2 divided by 3. Just like we've done in the past, we bring our decimal straight up to the roof, write it in nice and big, and then start dividing. How many times does 3 go into 2? Well, it doesn't, so you would put a 0. How many times does 3 go into 24? That would be 8. 8 times 3 is 24. We subtract. Then we bring down our 2. Now, how many times does 3 go into 2? 0. 0 times 3 is 0. We subtract. We get 2. Now we need to add our 0 and bring it down. How many times does 3 go into 20? Well, 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18. Let me try to shrink this up just a little bit so that I have more room to write. Okay, so 20 minus 18 is 2. Guess we better add another 0. Bring it down because we're not done yet, right? How many times does 3 go into 20? Well, again, that's 6. Do you see what's going to happen here? 6 times 3 is 18. We're going to just keep getting a 2. And every time we add a 0, we're going to have 20. And we're going to have the 6 going on forever and ever and ever. So what you can do at this point, because if we add one more 0 and bring it down, and get another 20, that's going to be another 6, which we know is just going to keep on going forever. We need to stop. When that happens, you can put a line over the part that repeats. Now, in this case, the only thing that's repeating is the 6, and it's going to keep happening forever. So your final answer would be 8.06 repeating. Now, when you write your own problems, you might get some problems that end up like this. We expect you to try to divide until you get to this position, the hundreds position. So that means you need to divide until you get to the thousands spot and then stop. If it looks like it's going to repeat, you add your repeating bar. If it looks like it's going to maybe keep going but not repeat, you can look at the thousands place and round this number to get your final answer. So, for example, you could have stopped here and said this would be 8.07. because 6 is bigger than 5, so that tells us to round up. That would also be fine. Either answer would be acceptable to us. You can either write 8.06 with the repeating bar over it, or you could write 8.07, showing that you've rounded it up. Okay, hope that helps. You should be ready to do all of your practice work now. Bye for now.